Alright my dear friends, in this lesson we will learn our first function of our special underscore module Python file. So let's get started. The name of this function will be, for example, PutText rect function. So what we have to do now is to create a function here and let the name be PutText rect, and also open and close parentheses. And I can summarize what it does as follows. It adds text on an image and puts a colored rectangle in the background of this text. If you wish, you can even add a border around the rectangle. Now let me explain what it does step by step. First, we give some parameters to the function. These are important because they determine how the function behaves. Alright, so now let's create our parameters. The first parameter will be image, and also img is the image on which we will add text, and also the second parameter will be the text. Text is the text we want to write on this image, so let's set it as text. And also our third parameter will be the coordinates that specify where the text will be placed. So let's set it as pose, and also put a comma again. And also our fourth parameter and fifth parameter will be scale. So let's define scale parameter and also thickness parameter. So why do we use in basically control details such as the size and thickness of the text? That's why I am creating two different parameters here, and also put a comma again. So now let's control the colors. For this, we should create two different parameters. The first one will be, for example, color T, and the second one will be, for example, color R. And also these are the colors of the text and rectangle respectively. If I want to have a border around the rectangle, I can set it with border and color B. That's why we should create border and color B parameters. So we are done. So now let's move inside of our function. So now first I get the position where the text will be placed with the pose parameter. And also these coordinates are divided into, for example, Lx. So let's set it as Lx and Ly. In other words, these coordinates will be the starting point of the lower left corner of the text. And also let's assign pose parameter to Lx and Ly parameter. And also let's continue. Let's move to a new line. So now we need to reach width and height value of the text. So why? Because I want to calculate the dimensions of the rectangle to be drawn around the text. So what should we do here? If we want to do this operation, what we have to do now is to create a new tuple here, because the function that we will use needs this operation. And also in the tuple we should create two different values here. These will be width and height. So why? Because when we calculate the dimensions of the text size will be assigned to the width and height value in the tuple. And also put a comma again, and let's create an underscore here because we need this. And also let's call our getTextSize function. For this, let's call cv2.getTextSize. This function needs four different parameters. The first one will be the text to calculate to size. The second one will be the font. The third one will be the scale. And also the last one will be the thickness. If we do something like this, we will get an error. So why? Because we don't define any font on this function. So how to solve this parameter? To solve this parameter, let's set the special font that we can use easily in OpenCV module. For this, let's type here cv2.font Hershey multiplex, for example, and we are done. So now let's move to a new line. Let's create a new variable here. Let the variable name be offset, and let's set it as, for example, 10. So why? With this variable, I leave a space between the text and the rectangle using the offset value. So that's why I created it. Now I calculate the corner points of the rectangle. For this, we should create a lot of variables. So now let's find the values x1 and y1 for the upper left corner. How can we do this? For this, let's create x1 and y1 variable. And also, we need the lower right corner. If we want to reach this corner, let's create x2 and y2 variables. And also, put an equal sign. First, Lx and Ly are the coordinates of the lower left corner of the text. Starting from this point, I need to calculate the upper left and lower right corners of the rectangle. I also use the offset value to leave some space around the text. Now let me explain what each term means. The first one will be Lx minus offset. So why did we do something like this? I find the x-coordinate of the left edge of the rectangle. The x-coordinate of the bottom left corner of the text is Lx. But I don't want it to get stuck right at the edge of the text, so I shift it to the left by the offset. So the rectangle will leave a space to the left of the text. And also, the second operation will be Ly plus offset. So why did we do something like this here? I find the y-coordinate of the top edge of the rectangle. The bottom corner of the text is hollow, but I want the rectangle to leave some space above the text. So I add the offset value and expand the rectangle a little bit higher. That's why I'm doing like this. And also, the third operation will be Lx plus width plus offset. So let me explain this operation. I find the x-coordinate of the right side of the rectangle. The width of the text is width, which is w variable. So the right edge of the rectangle must pass through the right side of the text. So I add the width, so which is w, of the text to the Lx, and I also add the offset value to leave a space on the right. And also our last operation will be the Ly minus h minus offset. So let's explain this. I find the y-coordinate of the bottom edge of the rectangle. The height of the text should be h and the bottom of the rectangle should be above the text. I subtract the height, which is h variable, of the text from Lx and again add the offset value to leave a space. Thus, the rectangle expands towards the bottom of the text. So now we need to create a rectangle totally filled. So how to create a rectangle like this? If we want to do this operation, what we have to do now is to call rectangle function. And also the first parameter will be our image. And the second parameter will be the starting point. And as you can see, we have created our starting point at the 8th line. So let's create a new tuple here and let's set x1 and y1. And also the third parameter will be the ending point of the rectangle. For this, we created x2 and y2 variable. So that's why I will create a new tuple here and let's set x2 and y2. And we are done. And also we need to define a color. For example, let the color be color R. And also we have one more operation here. So what is this? That is, the inside of the rectangle will be colored and its border will be the specified color. If we want to do this operation, we need to set a new parameter here. The new parameter will be the special value, which is cv2.field, and we are done. If we do something like this, the rectangle becomes completely filled. Alright my dear friends, in this lesson we started to create our PutTextRect function. So now let's move on to our next lesson and let's write the other codes of PutTextRect function. Alright my dear friends, so now let's continue where we left off and write our other codes. First, let's create an if block that checks whether to add a border or not. If we want to do this operation and also if the border parameter is not done, so let's type here our border parameter is not none. Now let's move inside of our condition here, and also that is if a border thickness is specified, and we will draw a border around the rectangle. If we want to do this operation, we should use a rectangle function for this process. So I will call rectangle function here, and also we determine the rectangle with the x1 and x2, y2 corner points we calculated before. The first parameter will be image variable, and also the second parameter will be the starting point. As you already learned, these will be x1 and y1, and also the third parameter will be x2 and y2, and also our color parameter will be color b, and also the thickness parameter is taken from the border parameter, so that's why I will set it as border. And also let's move to a new line. Thus, there will be a border around the rectangle with the thickness and color we specified. After adding the border, we add the text to the image. For this, we use this PutText function. So let's call PutText function here. And also, to add the text, we determine the following parameter. First, we give the image to which we will add the text. So let's type here image parameter, and then the text to be written is determined by the text parameter. The second one will be the text parameter that we want to draw any texts on the image. We also set the location of the lower left corner of the text with the LX and LY coordinates we determined before. That's why the third parameter will be LX and ly, and put a comma again. We place the text on the image by adding other parameters such as font. So let's set the font as font Hershey simplex and put a comma, and the fifth parameter will be scale. Let's set it as scale, and also the text color will be color T. So let's set it as color T, and also the thickness value will be thickness, and we are done. And finally, we make the function return two values. The first one will be updated image, which is image variable, and also the second will be the coordinates of the rectangle we drew. As you know, these coordinates are returned as, so you can see here, x1, y1, x2, and y2. That's why I will create a new list here, and let's set it as x1, y2, x2, and y1. So we know exactly where the rectangle is. Alright, here is our PutTextRect function. Yes, my dear friends, we have successfully created our function with you. Now let's move on to our next lesson and continue creating our necessary functions.